First, each presentation will last for 15 minutes. For presenters, when there's 5 minutes left, I will let you know through the chat room or through the audio so that you can finish your presentation on time. Second, in this parallel session, there will be 3 presentations delivered in a row. Third, we will have a question and answer session after all presentations have been delivered. Later, I will send you the format for sending the questions through the chat room, so please wait for that. And fourth, other rules can be found in the program book. So in this parallel session, we're going to have 3 presentations by Mr. Lucas Henggara and Mr. Antonius Herugianto, and we also have a presentation by Mr. Widharyanto, Miss Maria Vincentia Eka Mulatsih, and Mr. Antonius Herugianto. And then we also have another presentation by Miss Maria Vincentia Eka Mulatsih. So without any further ado, let us begin with the first presentation entitled Developing Journalism in MMC Class to Accompany Young People in the Creation of a Hope-Filled Future. This presentation will be delivered by Mr. Lucas Henggara and Mr. Antonius Herugianto. Mr. Lucas and Mr. Herugianto, you have 15 minutes and the time is yours.
Yes, thank you very much for the time. So allow me to deliver my presentation. Developing journalism in MMC class to accompany young people in the creation of a hope-filled future. So I'm doing this along with senior Sanata Dharma lecturer. So also one of my lecturers back in the undergrad in Sanata Dharma. Yes. Okay, so this is the introductory part. So the study is based on the Universal Apostolic Preferences of the Society of Jesus, 2019 up to 2029. It is in fact the research grant of DICTI, so just this year. Okay, so this is actually entitled in Bahasa Indonesia, mempublikasikan berita nasional di media internasional dan pengembangan budaya menulis bahasa Inggris. This was the title which was sent to Dicty in Bahasa Indonesia, and then this is the English version. Okay, so the aim of this research is to meet one of the 4 preferences of the Universal Apostolic Preference of the Society of Jesus, 2019-2029, namely to accompany young people in the creation of a hope-filled future as seen in students attending MMC, Mass Media Communication class in Sanata Dharma University, Yogyakarta. So this, the MMC class itself is one of the non-compulsory or an elective class for senior students of Sanata Dharma. So we'll try to divulge what is meant by accompanying young people in the creation of hope-filled future. So our background knowledge that we use here is the Universal Apostolic Preference of the Society of Jesus. So this is the main rotation that encapsulates the Ignatian pedagogy. So the Ignatian pedagogy, so based on experience, and then reflection, action, and reflection, and then the context, and then the rotation goes on and on. And so, okay, so to further elaborate the Ignatian pedagogy, which is applied in this research. So the first point is the diversity-based exposure. So young people experience the tension between the drive toward cultural homogeneity and the emergence of an intercultural homogeneous society that respects and is enriched by diversity. So no matter how homogeneous the culture that students inevitably have to live in. They have to get exposed to diversity of the the global world, the world bigger than what students are facing in their daily lives. So with that as a base, the diversity-based knowledge, with that as a base, they can commit themselves to building a culture of safeguarding that guarantees a healthy environment for children and young people, creating conditions that allow to develop their full potential as human beings. So not only diversity-based exposure, they must also contribute to the betterment of social well-being. And then to accompany young people demands of us authenticity of life, spiritual depth, and openness to sharing the life mission that gives meaning to those who we are and what we do. So in order for them to face what they are exposed in, and also acknowledging that they have a bigger task, they must know the spiritual depth that may strengthen them. So here are the data, method, and research questions. So the main research question is, what kind of roots would MC class promise young people to pick up for their future? So the primary data of this study are taken from the class final assignments done from 2015 to 2017. The very three equations have been the very beginning of the idea to evaluate and develop the class in question. So the method used in this study is to be carried out by investigating the data by making use of the principle of the spiritual exercises of Saint Ignatius. So written by or composed by Louis John Paul, Society of Jesus, the 10 steps of conducting educational research and development proposed by Bork and Gold, Model 1983, and journalism media, practical newspaper reporting of Jeffrey Harris and David Spark. So we go further in this research. Not only is the study expected to show how journalism in MMC class has accompanied young people in the creation of hope-filled future, but it is also an evidence of its best efforts to trigger young people to plant their trees of hope. So not only the here and now, but also in the future, as in the trees of hope here. And then secondly, the ones published and carried on the PPCM are selected, analyzing them by making use of brain text approach. So PPCM is also one of the projects conducted by my senior and my partner lecturer here. So the primary data of this study are taken from those class final assignments done from 2015 to 2017. The very 3-year occasions have been the very beginning of the idea to evaluate and develop the class in question. The method used in the study is to be carried out by investigating the data by making use of the principles of the spiritual exercises of Saint Ignatius, okay, composed by Louis John Paul. Having analyzed the data, we may see how the mission of the class, okay, accompanying young people in the creation of fulfilled future, has produced those works underlining their high spirit on looking forward to having brighter future. So being encouraged to achieve better things with their feeling good is the important step for being happy. So not only that they know that they contribute themselves for the betterment of society, but they also contribute to the betterment of themselves. So one of the indicators here is the feeling good, the feeling that they have achieved something. Okay, and then the peak of the affect in question here is the feeling of being happy, feeling of they know that they have not only contributed to the society but also to themselves. So most of their work of writing reflect their peaceful dream of future. They seem to remind themselves instead of falling into the worldly traps they indirectly implement. So verse 22, chapter 22, verse 37, namely, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with the whole heart, with the whole soul, and with the whole mind, and thou shalt love their neighbor as thyself. So we happen to um, juxtapose it with Christianity, with basic Christianity. So using their own words, they reflect those two golden rules, such as there are things beyond our power. So it is impossible to have everything in this life. Okay, just to mention some. Okay. And then as for the 10 steps of conducting the modified model of educational research and development proposed by Borg and Gall model 27. Okay, 2007, namely research and development or R&D. They are number one, need analysis, planning, okay, develop preliminary form of production, main field testing, main product revision, preliminary field testing, revision of product, operational field testing, and final product revision and dissemination and implementation. So the same things may be mentioned when dealing with journalism media, practical newspaper reporting of Jeffrey Harris and David Sparrow. So having done all those actions, it can be concluded. So here's the main conclusion. Not only is the study expected to show how journalism MMC class has accompanied young people in the creation of a hope-filled future, but it is also an evidence of its past efforts to trigger young people to plant their trees of hope. So the contribution of the MMC class towards the student, but most importantly, the contribution of the MMC students towards society for their own growth, for their own growth of their own trees of hope. So thank you very much for the time. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Lucas, for the very fulfilling presentation. I'm sorry. I thought Mr. Antonius was going to present us. I was taken aback. I'm sorry. So that was a really interesting presentation about hope feeling and in MMC class. So now we're going to. Oh yes, I'm sorry. Let's give a round of applause for Mr. Lucas. Yay. Okay, so moving on to our next presentation, we have a presentation entitled Depicting Indonesian Engineers' Values as Portrayed in Arifin C. Noor's The Bottomless Well to Teach BIPA. This presentation will be delivered by Mr. Wiharyanto, Ms. Maria Vincentia Ekamulatsi, and Mr. Antonius Herugianto from Sanata Dharma University. For the presenters, you may have your time.
Right, so okay, I will show the screen. Okay. Okay, so the title of this paper is Depicting Indonesian Engineers' Values as Portrayed in Arifin C. Noor's The Bottomless Well to Teach BIPA, ya, Bahasa Indonesia for foreign learners. Right, so to begin with, I would like to thank Pak Widaryanto and Maria, who have been working together conducting this research. Right, okay, I will begin with the aim of the study. So it is to depict and implement the function of Indonesian engineers' values as portrayed in Noor's The Bottomless Well to teach Bahasa Indonesia to speakers of other languages. Okay, we know it as BIPA. Okay. When we are talking about Noor's The Bottomless Well, okay, we know so much that Noor, Arifin C. Noor, lived in the regime of the New Order Indonesia, insisting on the belief that stability and centrally directed government were prerequisites for progress, and the national goal would be achieved through self-control, restraint, and self-denial on the common good. On top of that, during the administration of President Soeharto, there was the so-called Indonesian censorship body. Okay, it is an institution which was created during Japanese occupation. Yet, There was also an ordinance in Indonesia called Undang-Undang Number 3, 1965, giving the authority to the government to decide whether or not the permission to conduct any activity, including to stage a play, may be granted. Like this bottomless well, Arifin Sinor was also survived in traveling through the jungle of the New Order Indonesia. Not only did his wayang and Brechtian devices, his guerrilla tactics enable him to maneuver and escape censorship in delivering his critique of those in power. But they also empower him to win the heart of the government. Indeed, it was during the administration of the regime that Arifin was appointed secretary to the Jakarta Cultural Office. He was even awarded the Anugerah Seni and was entrusted with the making of the films dealing with the so-called history of New Order. It was also through the very hybrid devices that he raised the issues of nationalism and patriotism. Arifin's wayang and Brechtian devices are his means of launching his subversive acts. So it may be said that the way Arifin makes use of the very devices has caused everybody to enjoy some kinds of benefit. All of those noted works are concerned with poverty, with main characters coming from lower class society. Not only do these works mention poverty as social phenomenon, but they also expose poverty as moral and even metaphysical problems. It is from this side of society that North attempts to give comments on Indonesian and Indonesian society, and therefore a critic to the government. Having done so, there are descriptions of concrete steps in implementing the principle of ours of the local wisdom, such as Cartesianism theory, found in the very noted Indonesian play of Arifin Sinor. All right, I would not have got much time to explain the theory, but okay, the play, The Bottomless Well, contain the so-called 2 hours in Cartesianism theory means adreng migunani. It means keep on or promoting being beneficial. And also ours or core of Cartesianism named Monggo New Monggo. It means it is to please, to let others to come first before you. Okay, the basic line of Cartesian theory is promoting positive thinking. Okay, and with the flag to give. Okay, that in this life we are expected to give. Okay, instead of taking. Okay, so these 2 hours are dealing with the positive aspect of the theory. Okay, so once again, it was meant to develop the Indonesian writing class. I think I should come back earlier, but never mind. Okay, so all this finding, okay, may be used to develop the Indonesian writing class model in BIPA. Okay, by exposing political, by exposing social, cultural, okay, about Indonesia, it will help foreigner learn the language itself. After all, language is part of culture. So automatically, if we are dealing with the culture, then it will help us understand the language. Okay, as we know, if we want to master English, of course, we cannot avoid learning English culture, okay, especially through literature, right? So the problem of this research may be formulated, what Indonesian local values may be revealed, okay, already mentioned earlier, yeah, those 2 hours. And how may such finding provide students of BIPA with better understanding on Indonesian cultural aspect? Right, so conducting by combining research writing theories as in journalism and in investigative critical writing and the ingenious theory, journalism theory. Okay, so we may achieve the goal of this research. Right. Implementing the approach to teach in BIPA will not only make the students of BIPA better understand and master Bahasa Indonesia, but they will also be avoided from misunderstanding while communicating with Indonesian people. Okay, so when teaching BIPA, not only do they need learning CCU class, but they also need to learn Indonesian culture. It is in fact highlighting the importance of understanding one's culture in order to master one's language. The usual scientific analysis in journalism and investigative critical writing, for example, will deal with the question what Indonesian local value may be revealed, I mentioned earlier. Okay, and how may such finding provide student? Okay, I already said it earlier. So once again, it is conducted by making use of combining research writing as in journalism and investigative critical writing and theory. Right, it is the final remark. Okay, revealing the meaning of the two terms. Okay, the two us. Okay, migunani. Okay, and mongo. Okay, it is the important beginning steps. Yeah, in the beginning steps in teaching people. Yeah, while research writing theory would explain the design as its technical thing. Right. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Antonius Heru. Sorry, I was muted. I didn't realize. Thank you, Mr. Antonius Herjanto, for the really interesting presentation. It was very informative for me, who took BIPA last semester, but still didn't know that much about it. Okay, so let's have a big round of applause for Mr. Herjanto. And we're going to have our last presentation for this parallel. And we have, the presentation is entitled Post-Humanism into Fan Fiction Stories, The Cyborg and Cyborg. This presentation will be delivered by Miss Maria Vincentia Eka Mulatsi from Sanata Dharma University. Miss Ika, you have 15 minutes and the time is yours.
Hello everyone, my presentation is Posthumanism into Fanfiction Stories. The first title of the first story is, the title of the second story is The Cyborg. So let's begin. Okay, so on your right side here, have you ever watched this movie Wall-E? So a small robot, and the robot is smart. The robot cleans everything. On the earth after humans left the earth. And this one, the center here, your smartphone can count better than the owner, right? Better than us. So we have artificial intelligence in our smartphone too. And the left side here, beautiful woman. Her name is Sophia. Sophia is actually a robot too with artificial intelligence. she can answer our questions, and she can communicate well. Well, Sophia also the first robot, female robot who got citizenship. Yes, so it means that the emergence of AI and cyber is real in our world, and perhaps in the future we will have, the mixture, a mixture between human and also robot or artificial intelligence. So that is why it is important for us to discuss about this. How could we have our own perspective in dealing with this matter? What about in literature? What about our recent kind of literature? So during this presentation, I will have 2 stories I will share with you, and then in relation with posthumanism and also cyber, including artificial intelligence, and then in recent kind of literature. Okay, so we have some terms. I think I need to define it more, deeply about this. So we have posthumanism, we have fan fiction here, the second one, and cyber. Well, the concept of posthumanism, if I may summarize it, so it is about the challenges. So it challenges the traditional point of view of basic humanity value. As we know that, human beings are usually the central discussion of everything. For example, when we talk about literature, most stories will have human as the main characters. And we talk about, for example, our economy and etc. This posthumanism try to have different point of view. As we know that we are now in pandemic situation, so we have a situation there, and human is not the central discussion anymore. So nature also takes part, and then also the virus also. So it means that human is not the main creature that can take over the world, or the most powerful creature on earth. Okay, so that is why posthumanism is so interesting to be discussed. And then the second term is fan fiction. Fan fiction relates to millennials writers, so we can find the stories in Wattpad, Write for Fun, and etc. So these millennials writers are inspired by movies, novels, and other concepts. So for example, we talk about Twilight movie. So fan fiction story will continue that story or that movie based on the fans' creativity. So they will create their own story to continue the movie. Or perhaps the concept here, because cyber is the concept, so they can write, they can have a story about this. And then the last is cyber. Cyber, a creature with artificial intelligence. So just like the picture that I've shown here. Okay, why those 2 stories? Why Cyborg and the Cyborg? Well, first because of the title, the same, right? Cyborg. But the first one, Cyborg, the second one, the Cyborg with the. And then they also have young writers because, I think when I took these 2 stories, so it could portray young writers' creativity, not only young writer's creativity, but also young writer's mind. And then one story is from Australia, and the second story non-English speaking country, because from the sentences, I could know that he or she is not a native speaker. Platforms here. So those two stories were not taken from thick book, no, but from Wattpad and Write for Fun. I'm sure that young readers or young writers know Wattpad and Write for Fun. Okay, so I did more deeply about the similarities and differences of those two short stories in relation with post-humanism concepts. So how do, the writers try to have this concept in their story? So I will dig more deeply the similarities and also differences. So this, I use document analysis, especially comparative study, and I compare some intrinsic elements. Okay, so Rowan Tons is the writer, the young writer. He is from Australia, and the title is The Cyborg. So I will read the summary for you. A cyborg begins to be awake after a long period of surgery. The character realizes that he or she is not a fully human again. His or her thought that is stated from the sentences, "They told me they were saving my life. It wasn't long until I realized the truth. They were not saving my life, trying to create the perfect soldier, half human and half machine." Readers can know that actually the character doesn't want to live to be a cyborg. There is a tendency that being a cyborg is less worthy than being a fully human. The story then continues to the presence of a bad character that is characterized as a leader of terrorist organization. Explicitly, the main character doesn't agree to the concept of cybernetics that seems to save someone's life. He thinks that this technological and scientific development is used to fulfill humans' desire. In this case, it is relatable with political power to conquer other areas where there is no one who has same values. The bad character says that the war is not caused by the government responsibility. The reason of having the war based on the bad character is men, women, and even children begged and pleaded to be saved. The cyborg, after knowing some effects of government action, decides to expose the truth about the government. So this is the summary of the first story. The cyborg is created to destroy human beings by a man named Dan Weiss. So this is the creator of the cyborg. Different from the first creators, Weiss, the cyborg decides to run away, and she lives as a normal human. The cyborg is so happy when she lives together with her stepmother, experiences going to school, and she feels different. She feels different to a teenager. Perhaps she was a teenager. Okay, the story then continues to the event where her stepmom knows that she is a cyborg. Not long after that, her mother and her close friend. She has to meet her creator and surrender for saving Liz and Mike. The story ends with the optimistic feeling from Liz that Lisa, or this is the name of the cyborg, can be together with. Okay, two different stories. How about the similarities? So as we know that both stories have human and technological stuff as the cyborg, and both stories also have the critics toward the powerful ones. The first story, the cyborg, The powerful one is the government, and the second, the powerful one is the creator of the cyber. And then the second is both story also deconstruct the concept of human. So that actually human has its negative side, and they try to have cyborg as a better creature. So human is not the main or the most powerful creature anymore. And then both stories do not have the living creatures like animals, nature, plants in the story. Okay, so what about the differences? So the differences here based on the element, intrinsic element, I got three: theme, characterization, and gender. For the theme here, the first story is more about Marxism. So it not for the rich or poor, no, but it's about the powerful one and less power like that. So it has two oppositions, and then different from the first story, it is about love. Yeah, so the theme is about the love from a cyborg and humans. Okay, and then about the characterization. So half human, half robot for the first cyborg, the cyborg. So we can see that the first appearance. So we can see the human and also the robot. So half human, half robot. But the second one is human's appearance. So we cannot know whether the second robot is actually a cyber, because she looks like real human. So we cannot differentiate it. So it also affects to clear characterization for the first story, the cyber, and unclear characterization for the second story, cyber. And what about the gender? So here, the half human, half robot here, the robot doesn't have the sex, so we cannot say whether the robot is male or female. Yeah, and because the point of view is the first point of view, so I like that. The writer uses I, so we cannot see the sex. Yeah, but the second story, it is clearly known that Lisa, the name, and also she or her, and blah blah blah. So female. Okay, so move to the conclusion. Yes, as we know that both story have cyborg as the main discussion, and story do not include the nature, but actually both story challenge the concept of humans. So humans should be aware of the negative sides. We should be aware that we are not the perfect creature, while we should live together with other creatures, with nature and etc. And the differences are the proofs of writers' creativity. So well done for young writers because they are able to deconstruct and question human values comparing to their cyborgs.
So that's the end of Miss Ika's presentation. Thank you very much, Miss Ika. That was very entertaining. And let's have a big round of applause for Miss Ika. Yay! Okay, so since all of the presenters have deliver their presentations to us. Right now, we're going to have the questions and answers session. So we have someone has sent their question on the chat room, but there's only one. If any of you still want to ask questions, you are free to send your question on the chat room using the format that I have posted there. Or later you can use the raise your hand feature on Zoom and you can unmute yourself to deliver your question. So let's start with the first question. It is from Mr. Renanda Putra Tanjung for Miss Ika. Amazing presentation about post-feminism fanfiction and cyborg, Miss Ika. I have a very interesting question and I think it's going to be hard to answer it. Wow. So, from the story of Rowan Tan's the cyborg that ran away is half human and half robot. So, can I say that Rowan can be made of fanfiction? Uh, so, Miss Ika, you may have your time to answer it.
Thank you so much, Mr. So thank you, Mr. Michael, for a challenging question. I really appreciate that. By the way, yes, it can be classified as fan fiction because based on the definition of fan fiction itself, the first definition you can, a young writer can be inspired by watching some movies or reading some novels, and then they try to have their own version of story. But not only that, the second definition of fan fiction, the fan fiction can get the inspiration from what is that, a certain concept, and the young writers try to have their own story uh, about, in this case, cyborg. So as you can see, the first story, the cyborg, what is that? I really like the first story. Yeah, I think the first story is better than the second one. Um, because the first cyborg here, the robot doesn't have the sex, right? So it means that we shouldn't need to think about, whether we are female or male. It eliminate the gender, like we have the equality for other, yeah, for male and female. But one thing that I have shared with you is that, was that the lacking of, you know, other living creatures. So for example, plants, animals like that. So I think if you, Mr. Michael, if you want to have your own version of your cyber, so do not forget to, perhaps you can blend it, not only technology but also natural things that we should not forget. Yeah, so by the way, because we have a lot of participants here in this room, so please let me know if you are really interested in, discussing this matter, fan fiction or Wattpad, stories from Wattpad, write for fun, or if you are a writer, so you can, we can work together to write your final paper. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Ika. And do we have any other questions? All of the presentations are really interesting. I'm sure there are some parts that made you curious. Are you sure you don't want to ask, guys? If you want to ask questions, once again, you can use the raise your hand feature on YouTube. I'm on Zoom, I'm sorry, on Zoom, or just type your question on the chat room using the format your name underscore your affiliation and underscore the presenter that you're addressing the question to, and then your question. So yeah, we're waiting. The presenters are looking forward to answering your curiosities. You're going to regret it if you don't ask now. later when the session has ended, you're gonna think to yourself, oh, why didn't I ask this to the presenters? You don't want that, right? That's good, guys. Or maybe while waiting, I can ask my question to Mr. Where is it? Mr. Lucas. Mr. Lucas, are you still there?
Yes,
Yeah. So
apparently.
I have a question, but I don't know if this is a good enough question or no. It just randomly popped out in my head. So I was wondering if there are any tasks from the MMC class related to the creation of a hope-filled future that might be suitable to be applied in other courses. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, MMC is short for mass media communication, right? And I thought it was more to like writing something to be read by a lot of people. But not all courses involve a lot of writing. So is there any task that can be, adapted to these courses that do not really do writing tasks? That's my question. You may have your time to answer it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes, thank you very much for the very beautiful question. So yes, MMC class stands for Mass Media Communication. It's a class so conducted by my senior, my very senior, and my honorable lecturer, dealing with um, tra- the process of training students to support them in publicizing written works. So your question regarding other formats aside from written ones, is that right? Written ones and the application to other courses. Well, um, if I'm not mistaken, so um, there are other platforms worldwide now that not only provide written product knowledge, but also visual ones and also audiovisual ones. Um, a lot of courses, if I'm not mistaken, in PBE Sanat Dharma also support that. So if I'm not mistaken, there was a class conducted by, if I'm not mistaken, Miss Yusefa or Miss Mita back in 2013 or 2014 when I was in undergrad also. So was it speaking one or speaking two? We were supported to publicize our videos through social media. In videos, maybe that can be applicable. That can be applicable, but the worldwide media nowadays, they don't have that as much as written ones. For example, if it's in MMC class, you can just deliver it through to Jakarta Post, and then in MMC class to BBCM, and then in my case, I was also contributing my writings in Wikipedia. But maybe for in the near future, there will be other supporting formats that you can also contribute your whole field future content um, for for the purpose you mentioned. So maybe in classrooms, I support young teachers. I'm also a young teacher myself. I also support my students to publicize whatever they have to contribute for the betterment of the society, be that in the world of entertainment, education, knowledge, provision, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so my answer is basically um, yes, through mainstream platforms like YouTube, social media, you can also do that. But in this case, in MMC class, written as Susur mentioned, is more permanent than the spoken ones. So yes, I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. That was very helpful. Maybe one day if I become a teacher or lecturer, I will do that because it's very interesting. Okay, so I don't see anyone else asking question for now. Are you sure, dear participants? We have like 2 minutes left before continuing to our next session. I actually have another. Oh, there's a question. Okay, this is for Miss Ika. Miss Ika, are you ready? Yes, of course you are. It's a question from Miss Aprilia Bernicke from Sanata Dharma University. I want to ask a question to Miss Ika. Are there any terms or requirements for writing a fan fiction, maybe in style or genres? Thank you for your amazing presentation. Miss Ika, you may give a brief answer to this because we're about to be out of time. So,
Okay, I'm ready. Thank you so much, Miss Thea. Thank you, Miss Aprilia Bernicke. So, well, you just need to text me and then please choose the story that you really like and we will work together, okay? Okay, that's all.
that's very brief. Thank you, Miss Ika. And actually, I have a question too for Mr. Heru, but I think the answer would be too long if I ask him now. So I'm going to send him an email later. You guys too can do that for the participants. If you still have questions, but you didn't have the chance to ask them, maybe because you're shy or something, you can send them to our presenters' emails. You can find them in the program book. So yeah. I think we have reached the end of parallel session 2. After this, we're going to have a session with the third keynote speaker at 2 p.m. Don't forget to join the session, you guys. I'm going to share the link to the main room on the chat room so you can go directly there. Thank you so much for coming to this room today. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys did too. And thank you so much for the presenters too. Enjoy the rest of the conference and see you. Bye-bye. Don't forget to join the third keynote speaker at 2 p.m. I'm going to send the link. There's the link. You can click there. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Oh, oh, we have a little time, so we're going to take a picture. I'd like everyone to open their camera, show us your pretty and handsome faces, please. We're going to take a picture. Wow, you guys are so beautiful. Okay. Okay, Mr. Operator, are you ready to take a picture?
I'm ready.
Okay, please count. I'm just going to pause.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
You need another one?
Yeah. Once again. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Is that enough or more?
That's enough. Thank you,
Okay.
guys.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Don't forget to join the next session. Bye.